Good morning, namaskar, sat sri akal, adab, khushamadid. Welcome to the channel. My name is Kubeir. I am back and it's so awesome to be back. Oh, well, that's one way of getting my attention. From your experience, what advice would you give to having the PR application processed as fast as possible? Okay, great question. First of all, enter all the information correctly. A lot of times people miss on some information and therefore they get a ADR. And usually people get psyched up when they get an ADR for example, they submitted an application. Quickly after that, they get an ADR for 5669. 5669 ADR is usually sent when there is some missing information. There's some information which you haven't given clearly. For example, your address history does not match with your work history, does not match with your personal history. There are some gaps there, something which you haven't really provided with complete information. Sometimes you have provided, let's say, your travel history, which is not matching with some other information. So when there are this mismatch of information, you get an ADR. When you get an ADR, it basically puts an additional process time because it needs to get processed again, right? Or rather, it gets to get back into the processing. That's the first thing. Enter the information correctly. Secondly, when you're preparing your application, when you prepare your documents, the more structured you keep them, okay, think of it from the visa officer's perspective. Presenting a very good application, add a cover letter if you wish to, if you have a lot of documentation. The cover letter says what exactly you are providing in that application or in that file. For example, if it's work experience, on the top, present your employment reference letter, pay slips, pay stubs, bank statements, income tax returns, any additional employment related documents. And then on the cover letter, you say, dear officer, I'm providing to you my this documents for this work experience as per this order. A this, B this, C this, D this, or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. If you need any more information, I would be happy to provide that. So that becomes your cover letter or an index or an appendix or whatever you want to call it.
And this is the web page on the CIC website, which refers directly to the express entry applications and also refers to the completeness check, and it talks about all the different documents that you must provide in your application, which are mandatory documents, which are the minimum required documents which you must provide. If you do not provide any of these documents, if they're applicable to you, then your application will be rejected under the completeness check. So you must go through this list, and again, the link for this is in the description box below. For example, proof of work experience. While there is a lot of information mentioned over here as to what documents are required, this is not limited to just these documents. You must try and provide additional documents. For example, over here, it just asks for document for work experience to be a reference letter or an experience letter, which basically says it should be an official document printed on company letterhead, etc., etc. It does not ask you for your pay slips or pay stubs or proof of salary, but we always recommend that you must provide additional proof to show that this period of employment that you had was paid work experience, was paid. So you should provide pay slips, pay stubs, income tax returns, bank statements to have, which shows your salary credit. And this way it sort of proves to the visa officer that you were paid, which is a requirement for your work experience to be considered valid. And then when we come to the proof of funds, again, the requirement is for you to provide the letter from the bank, and the letter from the bank must mention the balance or average balance, which is basically for the last 6 months. So a lot of people get confused with this. The requirement is that your letter from the bank must indicate average balance for each month for the last 6 months. Now, most banks will not provide this information. Therefore, you can always provide your bank statements for the last 6 months, which will pretty much give the same information to the visa officer. The visa officer is basically trying to figure out if all these funds belong to you, that these have not been borrowed, these are unencumbered. And therefore, when it comes to things like this, like proof of funds, if you have had certain spikes in your deposits, if you've had a large amount of money deposited in your account, you will need to provide additional documents to show that where this money has come from, because it's extremely important for visa officer to understand that this money is yours, it has not been borrowed, and if it has been borrowed, then you will need to explain that as well as to how you intend to clear your borrowings. So for example, you have received a gift, provide a gift deed. You have sold your car, well, provide the sale deed. You have sold gold and then provided that amount, or you have deposited that money in your account, provide the sale deed. Always provide additional documents to show where the funds have come into your account, and that way you will not have an issue. And guys, here is a pro tip. I'm going to share something with you which nobody will ever share with you on a YouTube video. So this is what I would use to explain to the visa officer the reason for choosing a specific NOC code. Invariably, what happens is when you choose an NOC code, it is not a direct match with your duties and responsibilities. So for our clients, the clients who have signed up with us, we usually in such cases use a NOC comparison chart, whereby on one side we will list all the duties that have been mentioned in the NOC code that we have chosen, and on the other side we will list the duties that do match with that specific duty on the NOC code. And by this we are then able to show to the visa officer as to why that NOC is a match, and therefore we then give further explanation as to how these lead statement matches and the duties matches, and thereby giving a good explanation to the visa officer in a visual format so that they can see the reason why we have chosen the NOC, and therefore making it easy for him or her to approve our application.
Organize your documents well. Use your letter of explanation in a judicial manner, in a proper manner. If there is any aspect of your application which you think needs clarity, please provide clarity now. But that does not mean you writing an autobiography. I know of some people, there was one person who wrote an 80-page letter of explanation. I mean, 80 pages, guys. Do you really think the visa officer has this much of time in the world to read your 80 pages explanation? In that, you're explaining where were you born, which city were you born, which hospital were you born, what were the parents' name. Why are you giving all this information? What relevance does it have? So be judicial, be smart, only provide the information that you think needs to be clarified. Apart from that, nothing else is important. Also, there are a lot of documents that people provide which are not needed. They are just so anxious. You are just stressed out. Obviously, there is no debate on that. Express entry or a PR application can be full of anxiety because, hey, it's after all, your once in a lifetime opportunity. You don't want to screw it up, and you don't want to make any mess out of it. In an application, always provide documents that are more related. The fact that you won a debate competition in your school, that certificate has what relevance in your application? The fact that you were a volunteer for a charitable organization and they gave you a commendation or a participation certificate, what relevance does it have? You ran a marathon and you got a participation certificate for that. What relevance does it have in your PR application? So avoid all these kind of documentation. I know you want to show the visa officer that, hey, you are a person who is such a contributing person, such a nice person. Express entry PR application is extremely objective. There is points. You have claimed the points. Now you have to show documentation to show that you deserve these points and that they should be validated. IRCC then calculates, yes, you've done this, you've got these points. These points are valid. These points is what you should get. Then they do a background check to see that you have not been a naughty person. You do not have anything outstanding against you, as in you doing any naughty things elsewhere. And bang, you get your approval, passport request. That's all it takes in your application. Keep it simple, stupid. KISS. Always kiss the application and you would be absolutely fine. If you wish to sort of discuss your application, your queries, your concerns, anything to do with your application in person, then this is the link. By all means, please book a consultation. I'll be very happy to discuss with you your questions and your queries. Meanwhile, after the end of this video, please post your questions in the comments. I will come back and try and respond to as many as I can. Thank you so much for joining in. Stay safe, take care, and I shall see you next time.